Nobody at Ashcombe and Voss Architecture remembered Emery Hendrick's name. They knew his footsteps, the quiet squeak of rubber soles down the 40th floor corridor at 7 every morning, always before the receptionist, always after the night cleaning crew. They knew his hands, steady, unhurried, patient with jammed printers and dead laptop batteries and conference rooms where the projector refused to sync. But his name slid off people the way rain slides off glass. He was IT, or sometimes the tech guy, or, on his best days, hey you, can you look at this? Emery didn't mind, or he told himself he didn't. He had learned, over 4 years of quietly repairing other people's problems, that invisibility had its comforts. Nobody expected anything from a man. Nobody noticed. Nobody asked him to stay late for drinks he couldn't afford, or fill in awkward silences at meetings he wasn't invited to. He ate lunch alone at his desk in the server closet, sketching building facades in a battered notebook that no one had ever seen. Because architecture had been his dream once, before student loans and a dying father had turned it into someone else's. Wren Ashcombe was, by every visible measure, the opposite of invisible. She was 31 and already an associate partner, the youngest the firm had ever named, with a corner office on the 40th floor that looked out over the harbor. She wore her ambition the way she wore her tailored blazers, precisely, without a single loose thread. People admired her. People were also quietly afraid of her, because Wren Ashcombe did not have time for softness. She had learned early that softness got you passed over. What nobody in that office knew, because Wren had built her composure like a fortress, brick by careful brick, was that 6 weeks earlier, her fiancé had ended their engagement over a voicemail. He left while she was in a client meeting. What nobody knew was that her mother, back in Providence, had been diagnosed with something the doctors used careful words for. Words like manageable that didn't feel manageable at 2 in the morning. What nobody knew was that Wren Ashcombe went home most nights to a beautiful apartment that felt like a hotel room, and cried exactly once, briefly, efficiently, before washing her face and starting again. The night everything changed was a Thursday in late October, the kind of evening where the light over Boston Harbor turned the color of steeped tea before it disappeared entirely. Wren was 3 hours from a presentation to the city's largest developer, a chance to lead her own project for the first time, when her laptop froze mid-render, the blue screen swallowing 4 months of work in an instant. She called the after-hours helpline with the particular fury of someone who has decided that if she starts crying, she will not stop. Emery picked up on the second ring. He remote accessed her machine, murmuring instructions she barely registered. His voice, low and unbothered, the voice of a man who had talked 100 people down from 100 ledges just like this one. While the recovery software churned, Wren did something she would later be unable to explain, except to say that grief needs somewhere to go, and she had run out of places to put hers. She opened a blank message window she believed was a private note to her sister, the kind of raw, unfiltered thing she never said out loud, and typed until her hands stopped shaking. I don't know how to tell anyone that I'm not fine. Everyone here thinks I have it together because I've never once let them see otherwise. And now, I don't know how to stop pretending, even when I want to. Mom is scared and I have to be the strong one on the phone with her. And then I hang up and I'm still supposed to be the strong one here, at work. In this life, I built so carefully that I forgot to build anything real underneath it. He said I was impossible to reach. Maybe he was right. I just don't know how to be reachable and still be who I am. She never meant to send it anywhere, but the window she had typed into was not a private draft. It was the shared support ticket log, still open from the remote session, syncing in real time to the screen for floors down, where Emery Hendricks sat watching her recovery progress bar crawl toward completion. He saw the words appear one by one, the way you see a stranger's diary blow open on a windy street. He knew, immediately, and with total certainty, that he was not supposed to be reading this. He almost closed the window. His hand was actually on the mouse, but something about the specific loneliness in it, the I forgot to build anything real underneath it, stopped him, because it was a sentence he had thought himself more than once. Sitting in that server closet with his sketches he never showed anyone. He didn't reply to what she'd written. He would never have presumed that. Instead, when the file recovery finished, he typed a short note into the ticket system, addressed to no one in particular. The kind of message he might leave for anyone. Recovery complete. All for months intact, and backed up twice. So this doesn't happen to you again. For what it's worth, the work survives. So does everything else. Even when it doesn't feel that way at PM on a Thursday. Good luck tomorrow. You're going to be sharper than anyone in that room. He signed it only, support ticket number 4471, and went home, and told himself it was nothing. A professional courtesy, and did not examine too closely. Why? His chest felt tight the whole train ride back to Dorchester. Wren read it twice. Then a third time. She did not know who had written it, only that whoever it was had read something she had never meant for anyone to see, and had chosen deliberately, gently not to acknowledge the content of it directly, only to answer the fear underneath it. Nobody in her professional life had ever done that. Nobody had ever let her be unreachable, and still shown up anyway. She gave the presentation the next morning, and won the project. She also spent an unreasonable amount of that morning trying to find out who ticket number 4471 belonged to, scrolling through the help desk directory with the same focus she usually reserved for zoning ordinances. The system listed only a department, not a name, so she did the only thing she could think to do. She replied to the ticket itself. A single line, "Thank you, whoever you are, that mattered more than you know." He almost didn't respond. 4 years of being furniture in that building had taught him that people who accidentally saw kindness from invisible men usually forgot about it by Monday. But 3 days later, unable to help himself, he wrote back, "Anytime you need something recovered, technical or otherwise, ticket number 4471 is at your service." It became a habit neither of them named. She would send a ticket for something that didn't strictly need fixing. A monitor that flickered maybe once. A mouse that was probably fine. And he would answer. And somewhere in the practical back and forth about hardware, something else crept in. She told him, without ever using her name or his, about her mother's diagnosis. He told her, without revealing his face or his floor, about the father he'd lost at 22 and the architecture degree he'd abandoned to pay for the funeral. Neither of them asked who the other was. It felt absurdly safer that way. Two people finally honest with someone precisely because that someone was a stranger. Wren began to notice something odd about herself. She looked forward to submitting tickets the way other people looked forward to messages from someone they were falling for, which she told herself firmly was not what was happening. Then came the Monday. The servers went down company-wide. 4 hours before the biggest client pitch of the quarter, Wren's pitch. The follow-up to the project she'd already won. Files vanished. Panic moved through the office like weather. Wren stood in the hallway outside the server room, watching through the glass. As a man, she barely registered. Dark hair, flannel sleeves rolled up, moving with a calm, unhurried precision that felt entirely familiar, though she couldn't say why. Worked through the night rebuilding what had been lost, alone, while everyone else went home. At 6 in the morning, the files were restored. At 7, the same anonymous message arrived in her queue. Ticket number 4471, everything's back. You didn't lose a thing. Go get the room. She looked up from her phone, through the glass, and saw him closing his laptop in the server room. Exhausted, satisfied, entirely unaware she was watching. And something in the shape of him, the set of his shoulders, the specific stillness of a person who does difficult things and expects no credit for them, clicked into place with 4 months of unnamed conversations. She didn't say anything that morning. She gave the pitch her best one yet, sharpened by something she couldn't name, and won it. But that evening, instead of going home, she went down to the 40th floor's basement level, past the mailroom, to the door marked IT support, and knocked. Emery opened it in his flannel shirt, sleeves still rolled, sketchbook open on the desk behind him to a half-finished drawing of a building that didn't exist yet. He froze when he saw her, because he understood immediately, from the look on her face, that she knew. "Ticket 4471, Wren said, and her voice, usually so precise, came out unsteady. "I want to file a complaint." He blinked. "About what?" "4 months of the most honest conversations I've had with anyone in years. And you let me think I was talking to a stranger." "You were," Emery said quietly. "I still am, mostly." "You're not," she said, stepping into the doorway. "You're the person who rebuilt a server room alone at 3 in the morning and didn't tell anyone. You're the person who read something I never meant to send and answered the only part of it that mattered." She looked past him at the sketchbook, at the drawing of the building. "What is that?" He hesitated, then turned it toward her. "A facade study, elegant and strange, glass and warm brick. The kind of design that belonged in the portfolios of the partners upstairs, not in a server closet. Notebook nobody had ever seen. It's nothing. Something I do at lunch." "It's not nothing," Wren said. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt something in her chest unclench completely. "Emery, that's your name, isn't it? I looked it up after the servers, before I let myself admit why I was looking." He nodded, unable quite to speak. "I'm going to need someone on the Harborview project who understands structure the way you clearly do," she said. "Officially, that is. Unofficially, I already know you're the only person in this building who's ever actually listened to me." Outside, the last of the October light was fading gold over the water, the same light that had been falling the night. A broken laptop and an unsent message had accidentally found the one person in a building of hundreds who knew exactly what to do with someone else's honesty. Not exploit it, not forget it, but simply hold it carefully until she was ready to claim it herself. Ticket number 4471 closed that night, marked resolved. Everything that came after it opened instead.